I don't do this to be on podcasts, and I didn't do it because I wanted to be like, awarded ever, so it's really about being behind the scenes and pushing those chess pieces in the right place to make things happen.
Hi, and welcome to Inside C&A Digital, the podcast. You are in for a great one today. I am joined by Rose Cappa-Rotunno, who is the president of the event department in New York. Now, she has a day job, but we're going to talk about something that's really, really exciting, which is an event she's putting on. Welcome, Rose. I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This is really exciting. I feel kind of like famous, with the whole thing.
I mean,
yeah,
you are famous. You're good. And if you aren't yet, you are going to be, because this event
You're on it. Yeah.
is outstanding.
Thank you.
Yes. So as you know, and our audience knows, we're really passionate about a few things, and we try to use this podcast as an outlet to kind of tell the world about things that are important to us. Some of those things include women, Westchester,
Amen.
and business. Amen, amen. So you are the right person to have at the table across from me. Thank you and welcome again.
Thanks so much. This is really exciting to be able to talk about my passion project.
Yes. So we have a Westchester Women's Summit that's happening here in White Plains. It's your event.
Yes.
So I want you to tell this audience, why they should be there, why you started it, but tell us what's happening.
So the inception of this whole thing really started about 15 years ago. I had seen a conference that Maria Shriver had done in California called Women's Empowerment. And it was a whole week's worth of events that were not just business related and not just yoga and not just like one kind of thing. It was a holistic approach to women and an opportunity to allow women to come together to inspire, empower, and uplift each other. And I said, we have to do this in Westchester. It doesn't exist here.
Yes.
And so I started talking to people, and people started to get tired of me because I was like, what would you think if we did something like this? And so everyone was like, I'm in. If you do it, I'm in. So I kept a folder. And in 2019, I said, you know what? We got to try and get this started. So I had an event where I invited all the women that I ever was associated with, that I was inspired by, that I wanted to meet. It was about 190 women I invited to an event called Wine, Women, and Chocolate.
Okay.
And 98 people came. Wow. And I pitched the idea. And before they left, 80 people signed up to be on committees. And so that started this first Women's Summit. And we had 500 reservations for the first summit. And 3 days leading into it, of course, COVID derailed it a little bit. And we went to a virtual platform.
Okay.
And all 500 people and every sponsor came with us.
Wow.
So to me, it shows that there is a want and a need for a place like this for women.
Sure.
And that's kind of where it started. So now we're on our 5th year.
Did I hear that almost 500 people will be there, if not more?
We've already sold about 150 tickets, and we are 6 weeks out. So there's still time to get them, but I think we're going to sell out again this year. It's important to people to be in the room. It becomes a space where people you want to meet are there.
Yeah.
Information that you need is there. And we wanted it to be a place for resources, for you to fill your cup, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. So there needs to be a space where you can just be you and be amongst people who help you to be you, the best you.
Absolutely, and we're going to be there.
Absolutely.
C&A Digital is proud to say we're a diamond sponsor.
Yes.
And we are going to be there with some really big name friends on the sponsorship side, but also very actively engaged with the agenda. And you have been outstanding, and your team has been amazing in terms of really trying to craft a unique event that women should not miss in Westchester, certainly. But even if you're in the outskirts, you should come on in for this. So why don't we tell the audience a little bit about one of my favorite parts, which is how dynamic this program is, right? It's not, sometimes I go to business events all the time, right? It's all networking, or it's all this, or it's all that. Why don't we tell the audience a little bit about how you had such kind of deep intention with respect to the program and what they can expect this year with us?
Sure. There's lots of different elements and things that are happening. So there's really something for everyone here. There is 4 tracks. Our focus is on women's wellness. And the idea is that we want to help support women with their financial wellness, career wellness, family and community wellness, and also their was the last one? Financial wellness.
Yes.
So this way we can all kind of focus on the areas that sort of bring us all together. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. There's 2 panels. There's 4 panels happening at one time, 2 times a day. But in addition to that, we have an area called the Discovery Zone. And we've invited lots of local nonprofits to join us, to share information, to be a resource, to allow for people to ask those questions that sometimes they're afraid or embarrassed to ask. We're going to spend some time on domestic violence and family violence, but we're also going to have an experience zone. So there'll be a place for you to have a sound wash, one of those like things with the crystal bowls.
Yes, I love it.
We have a tarot reader. We've got Krav Maga is going to allow you to write what you're trying to break through and teach you how to break through that piece of wood. So there's lots of experiences you can have, and also a chance to just network and touch base with people, and not just be sitting at a round table with the 10 people you bought. There's lots of interaction.
Sure. Yeah, we're really excited for one of the workshops we'll be working on with you related to, and I think it's just a beautiful marriage in terms of what your goals are, which is, a vision workshop. And it's not really vision board, but it does maybe have some physical properties to the workshop in terms of engagement and getting women to, and our guests to really sit and think with intentionality about the vision they have for their life and across all of the parameters that are important to us. So we're super excited. You should come and join us about that and the entire agenda. So when I was taking a look at kind of your formal resume, it looks like you have a history in nonprofit and development and really trying to shed light and awareness to causes that are important to you. So outside of like the women front, or maybe related to the women front, what are some of the causes that are important to you?
Well, I've worked in nonprofit from when I graduated college. I actually went to college for international business and I studied Japanese. So I am far off from where I started.
Okay.
My first job was actually with March of Dimes, and I went into high schools to talk to kids about birth defects and get them to walk. And that was my first touch with nonprofit and learning that my efforts and my energy could go towards something more than a bottom line. It could make a difference.
Sure.
And so I started in the nonprofit arena. And what it does is it puts me in front of people at their best. I've got people on boards who want to make a difference. I've got people who have jobs that don't pay well, but they do it because they love what they're doing. And that energy and that positivity really helped to form me as an individual, and wanting to be part of a community and part of a solution. And we really, for me, I get involved in things like Sobomi's Children. I'm on the board there. It's an African storyteller who uses her heritage in African, as an African from Nigeria. She tells her grandmother's stories to teach kids about self-awareness and self-confidence. I'm on the board of TRA, which is a medical rides organization that offers free rides to seniors and people to go to their medical appointments.
So important. When I was in my MBA program, one of our projects was to organize an event for a charity that the class picked, and the class, I wasn't on that committee, I was on another committee, but they picked HIV/AIDS, and it was a beautiful event that we did. And then I asked a subset of that group if they would help me organize an event for Make-A-Wish, because Make-A-Wish had granted a wish for my little cousin. And so I wanted to recoup that wish. At the time, the average wish was let's say $10,000 to grant these wishes. So my goal was, can I raise $10,000? But I'm in my 20s and I've never done this. And the committee and I organized an event, and it was really, really successful. We had like comedians and dancers, and we had New York City restaurants like donate trays of food. And one of my professors from my MBA program made his class go. I'm like, you have to make him go because I don't know if anybody will show. And he took me to the side and he said, it's crazy that you could do this. He's like, the hardest thing to ever accomplish in life and business is to get people to part with money for a good cause. And I never forgot that, because right when our clients work with us, they get beautiful websites and beautiful social media, and they get a beautiful this or that, right? It's in exchange for something that adds value to them, kind of tangentially, right? But and tactically. But what you're doing and what the summit is going to do for the women is it's going to help them in a much different way. When you commit yourself to nonprofit life and development that way, that's the hardest job. So I just want to say, like, well done.
Thank you. It's actually interesting because part of getting this off the ground was a little difficult because I'm not a nonprofit.
Right.
This whole Women's Summit is not an organization.
Okay.
It's a movement. It's a group of women coming together to make positive change in the community in some way. And going to a corporation and saying, look, I have an idea. And they're like, all right, what's your 501c3? And I'm like, I don't have one.
One of them.
You know, or how am I going to position this? And I'm thinking, well, you know, you can look at this as a marketing opportunity, or you can look at this as a workforce development opportunity. Here's a space that I'm providing for you that you can bring your women employees to have a day that's just for them. You know, so it's not just about, you know, raising money for a cause. This is raising money for our community and people in Westchester, women in Westchester who need a place to recharge and to be themselves in a judgment-free area and just be amongst that positiveness that they don't always get. You know, we are the ones that are nurturing and we are supporting and giving. And a lot of times we're standing there waiting and there's nobody else. You know, sometimes you've got a good girlfriend or two that helps shore you up, but some of us are alone and we need a little help. And that's what this space is about.
Sure.
And I think it resonates with a lot of people. And that's why, you know, coming from that first year and building it to this point now, we have corporations that are calling me now to say, I want to be a part of this. I'm so thrilled. The Westchester County Office for Women has stepped in and is making this the signature Women's History Month event in Westchester.
Yes.
This is their second year involved, and they're totally solidly behind it. Ken Jenkins, thank you very much. And then this year, New York Presbyterian has stepped up as a presenting sponsor.
I love it.
They believe in women in health in Westchester. Every hospital in our community is being a part of this. A lot of organizations that are looking to identify with the client that's coming or the person who's coming, the guest who's coming. Yes, some of them have marketing and other agendas, but at the end of the day, they want to be in the room.
Right.
And I'm excited to have created that space for that.
Well, I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with seeing value and having your name associated with such a beautiful event. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that it's not a tax write-off for these sponsors, is something to applaud them for, because sometimes, you know, they're going to give a certain amount of money away for a tax write-off. This is not the case here.
Absolutely. So
these sponsors are really in it because it aligns with their values. And I think that that's super important, because women are important. We're important. Mm-hmm. And I think this event, you know, the more that I kind of learn about what we're going to be doing together in a little while now, the more I just urge every woman who can to join us. It's going to be amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you can tee up. I know the agenda is being firmed up now. Mm-hmm. It's super dynamic and very cool. We were talking a little bit in kind of the pre-show about that. But what can you tell the audience in terms of what they might be able to expect from an agenda perspective?
So some of our panels deal with some serious issues, like advocating for yourself in the health arena. We're going to have a perspective from different hospitals talking about how to be your healthiest self, how to make sure that happens. We're going to talk a little bit about mental health and how it's not a secret, and how you really need to be talking about it and finding the resources to help yourself and your families, because it's not you can't keep it a secret anymore.
Sure.
There's too many issues out there. We're going to talk about how to advance your career. We're going to talk to unorthodox or unconventional CEOs and see how they got to where they are. We're going to do...
You didn't ask me to be on that panel, so I don't know.
Well, I wanted to give you your own panel. because I knew you had more to say.
I love it.
But also, in addition to that, we're changing things up. I mean, part of what I like to do is to do the unexpected. You know,
Sure.
you go to a lot of these conferences, there's round tables, you sit down.
All same.
You're all stuck with the same 10 people you came with. We're not doing that. We're doing a networking grab and go lunch. So for 2 hours, you can grab something to eat. You can go to a clinic. You can go to a special workshop. You can go get your cards read, your tea leaves read, whatever you want to do. But that time is for you to interact and engage with the people that you want to meet and talk to. And then at the very end of the day, we come right back to that wine, women, and chocolate. And we have shopping and chocolate and wine. And that last hour is really just about, how was your day? Wasn't this great? Let's have some fun together before we end it and go back to our realities. So
I love that.
It is, it's not your conventional conference.
Right.
And that's sort of been my signature, is to be a little out of the box.
Yes.
And a little different. And I don't like to do the same thing all the time. And
Sure.
I'm lucky that I have other people who can embrace my vision and do it with me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know, two of my favorite things that kind of popped out as you were speaking, and we kind of know intimately what's going on behind the scenes, so it's a little unfair for me to say, but one of the things that pops up, two of them actually, are the agenda allows the woman to be in control of that day, where sometimes I go to conferences all the time. I'm not in control of the agenda at all. I sit there, and if people want to talk on a panel for overtime in 30 minutes, you're sitting there and you're subject to that.
Right.
This is dynamic, and the woman can choose where to go, and the guest can choose. Even if you're a man, I'm sure you can come, and maybe you should come, or right?
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Women
I'm thinking
and the men who love them. Yes.
100%. Yeah, so that's a lot of you out there. And the other thing that I love about it is options, right? So it's like, can you be in control of your day, which I think is an overarching theme that will probably happen.
Yeah.
Whether it's health or finance or career, or physical health. And do you have options? And I think, you know, the more I talk to women a lot. I love women. You see my executive team, they're a bunch of badass women. They might put a bleep on that one. And I think it's not a coincidence, right? I think when you give women options and control, they feel better about their day, and they feel better about the things they have to do and how they serve.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think also, aside from being able to pick and choose, there's a place for every person. You know, we don't want to make this an overly white event or an overly black event, or you know, Latino
Sure.
or whatever. This year, our speaker is Asian. We have Juju Chang from Nightline, who is phenomenal,
I love
who
that.
has some ties in Westchester, and who's going to talk a little bit about otherness, you know, like about being the other person in the room and how to keep moving forward and moving up, but also just talking a little bit about supporting each other as a woman in that particular arena. I feel like everyone can find something there to be inspiring,
Sure.
but also not to feel like, okay, this was all done for just one type of person. You
Right.
know, this is a common space for every woman.
Sure. Well, and I think that, you know, as much as, you know, to avoid political crap, you know, diversity is powerful. The stats say it. The research says it.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I personally can commend organizations, events, companies that are standing by. I mean, it's just good business. So
Absolutely.
irrespective of your personal views, it's just good business to ensure that, like, you're supporting diversity, because the best ideas come from a diverse segment. And I think we couldn't be happier to be a part of it this year. I think we're going to do everything we can to scream it from the rooftop.
I'm so excited. Yeah. And
Yes.
so proud to have you guys involved.
Well, and it's such a, you know, I was talking to actually a president of another sponsor, and he and I were talking. He's like, I hear you're part of the Women's Summit this year. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, what a great fit. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, if you know our company,
Right.
and he knows you and he knows us. And so I think I really commend organizations that are behind you. And I really urge anybody who's listening to make sure that you get some women and come. And make sure that you support in whatever way you can. It's important, and women are important.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
we make up half the population, right?
Yeah. So tell me, from your career perspective, how do you feel like this purpose that you have fulfills something that you need?
Well, I mean, I come from a very long line of strong women. They're not CEOs, they're not heads of anything, but they held things together in difficult situations. Like, I'm first generation here of an immigrant family. They're scrappy. They do what has to be done. You know, I told a story last year about my grandmother, or 2 years ago. She ran the black market for her down in Italy. You know, you wanted something done, you went to Rosa. And, you know, she did it because she knew other women doing the same thing in another town. And I kind of feel like I'm a little like her, but then it's
I might see some synergy there. Yes.
And my other grandmother, you know, when she came from Italy and she was trying to bring her whole family here, she had no housing ready because it was going to be ready in a couple of weeks. So she's at immigration freaking out. And another woman said to her, I have some places your family can stay until yours gets sorted out, and never charged her for it and never did anything. So those are women helping women. So to me, I see, you know, this need in the community to connect women with each other because they may not know that there's somebody out there ready to help and they're afraid to ask. This creates a forum for them to find what they need in order to survive. I mean, this year's story is about another family member. I have an aunt who was in an abusive relationship for 60 years. And at 80 years old, she finally reached back out to the hands that were reaching out to her, and she divorced him. And now she's on her own and is the happiest she's ever been. But every one of those 60 years, there was somebody waiting for her to make that decision. So we have to be ready. We have to be out there. We have to be available to give information and resources to people when they need it. And that's what this is about. I like to be a connector. So this event fills a very deep need to me of creating a space where those elements come together and positive things happen.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And I think one of the other themes that kind of resonates when I'm listening to you speak about it so passionately is that, you know, a lot of the worst things in life, they kind of grow in the darkness, right? Yeah. And when you shed light on topics that are historically dark, right? Nobody wants to talk about it, then it's not dark anymore.
Right.
And hopefully we can avoid women suffering for 60 years unnecessarily, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, you know, a person has to be ready for it.
Sure.
But we have to be ready when they're ready, you know,
Right.
so that sort of thing. But, you know, I don't do this to be on podcasts, and I didn't do it because I wanted to be like, you know, awarded or whatever. In fact, the first year when we were about to go live, I had a panic attack because I got there and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to go in front of all these people with a dream or an idea. What if I fall on my face? Like, this will ruin my career for the rest of my life. Like, what mistake am I about to make? And it was okay. And I think that is a lesson that you just got to try it.
Sure.
Just do it. What's the worst that could happen?
Sure.
You know, so it's really about being behind the scenes and pushing those chess pieces in the right place to make things happen. In fact, that's one of the panels you can do too. Making positive change in your community, how you might want to do that. You don't have to run for office, but there's ways you can do stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of the research supports that the way to true fulfillment and happiness is actually through service.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Like, I'll hear a lot of feedback, comments, jokes about the podcast that we have here. And, you know, I think the easiest spin on that is we're marketing and we want to be in front of people. And it's like, it's actually wrong. Mm-mm. It's actually, I use it as a platform to educate as many people as I can about what is important. And so that, from my little world, what we find important, and certainly there's so many synergies between what I find important and what you do. And that's why I really couldn't wait to have you on here.
Thanks.
Because it's so important what you're doing. It's obvious you're not doing it for the awards. I'm sure they have come and will continue to come because what you're doing is big and great and needed. But it's very evident that, you know, this is not why you're doing it.
I think we are able to adjust and control the world that we want to live in. And this is my effort to do that. I'm trying to create the world that I want to be a part of.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, you have a family of your own.
I do. Yeah, I have 2 kids.
So-
And they are a little older. I've got 20 and 23.
Okay.
But the last few years have caused lots of issues for our kids, and really made it a lot harder for them to find their pathways and find their purpose. And I see them struggling, and it's a difficult thing, and mental health issues have hit a lot of us very hard. And that's why I like to make sure that there's a place to talk about that, because I think that it can't be taboo. We have to really get it out in the light
Sure.
so that we can address it and fix it. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One of the cool things that we do here for our employees is, and certainly I'll only speak for myself, but anybody here who wants to have me take off the hat that I wear here, because I'm a human first, and
Right.
I genuinely love the people who come here. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't care if it's corporate taboo. I love the team here as humans, and they can just have me take off the hat and we can talk. Right. They know I have 3 kids. They know I run a business. They know, I liaise with clients, and internally, they know I have a house. So there's a whole journey that I've been through. And if I can help somebody not step in the same holes I did, they know that I'm more than happy to take off the hat, take a walk with them, give them advice, and it'll never be right. We can separate that. But that's a rare thing in a corporate setting, and it's a rare thing in a business setting, I should say, not corporate really. And I think that that's important. Women have a higher likelihood of taking these non-conventional approaches to caring for people around them.
I think that it's not as prevalent as you may want it to be, like the kind of perspective that you bring to it, and about being, a friend and an associate first before a boss. But I always also firmly believe that as women, it is a little bit more difficult sometimes to move ahead. And it is our duty and our responsibility to make sure that as we move ahead, we're taking people with us. And that it's not just my victory or my advancement, but there's people that I have by the hand that I'm taking with me along the journey. And I've been super blessed that in my life, there's been people doing that for me. So for me, it's like a pay it forward. Like we
Sure.
have to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that if we encourage more people to do that, it's what's going to make a difference. I mean, the big issue this year, is advocating for yourself, for your rights, for your health, for your place in society. And unfortunately, some of those things are being threatened right now. And we need to educate ourselves about creating a strength in numbers and a strength of purpose and a strength of individual to make sure that we maintain our autonomy and maintain our rights to be whatever we want to be and how we want to be it. So, in a small way, I'm hoping that this plants seeds to allow people to understand that they can be part of a movement to make things change and be the way that it should be.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of conventional roles that women have played. And I think that generations now are, able to question the dynamic. I think, something that you said just now brought up, people who know me personally will say, we'll talk about my ambition, right? I'm ambitious. And so sometimes that ambition will be interpreted as, anything I do in terms of ambition. When really, I think one of the things this summit is going to do well is we all have self-interest, right? Because first and foremost, we have to make sure that we're okay and our families are okay.
Right.
This is the first thing that is a human and an adult that we have.
Right.
But there's this level up that Jim Rohn introduced. He's dead now, but and it's called enlightened self-interest, which is kind of the path that I follow. The difference being, I don't win at the expense of other people. I win by bringing them with me. I think I know I'm going to win in life. I'm already winning. I have a beautiful business, beautiful family, beautiful kids, beautiful friends, beautiful husband. I'm already winning.
Right.
So we're not in a race for that. How many people can I bring with me?
Right.
Right. In whatever way I can help them win. Right. This might be career-wise, people sitting in the back of this room. It could be my children. It can be you and an event here. What can I do to bring as many people as I can in the small way that I can make an impact? And you win exponentially when you think about it in terms of that. But ambitious women get a bad rap.
Right.
And that's another thing that I find really interesting about this summit is like giving people the space to like really be who they are. And if that is ambitious, I've had a lot of trouble on that journey of being authentically me. And I fight the good fight every day, but it isn't easy. And I'm sure it's also not easy for someone who might not be as maybe vocal as I am. So how do we get women to be supported in terms of whatever they are, you know, and how they are?
Yeah. I mean, one of the step and repeats we have where you can take pictures is it says we rise by lifting others.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think, very much the theme of the event. You know, like we can only move forward and above and up if we do it together.
This is so much fun talking to you, Rose, and I can't wait to continue as we plan on. Now, I'm going to just tell our audience the Westchester Women's Summit is going to take place on March 14th at the Sonesta here in White Plains. So not too far. It's starting at 8 a.m. It will go the full day. It's going to be a jam-packed agenda. It's going to be amazing, and I absolutely can't wait. Thank you so much, Rose, for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is great. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the work that you do to bring women ahead in life and around all of the parameters of their life. Thank you for like creating a dynamic event that we can all look forward to. And I'm going to thank you for joining us. And I'm going to say you need to be there March 14th. I'll see you then. Thank you for joining us.